Good morning, my name is Frank Laczko. I'm the director of the Global Migration Data Analysis Center that IOM recently established here in Berlin. 2015 was a remarkable year because more than 1 million migrants arrived in Europe, mainly by sea and largely through what is called the Eastern Mediterranean route, that is the route from Turkey through to Greece. And that route was dominated by people from 3 countries, Syria, Afghanistan and Iraq. During the same year, we also saw a steady flow of people arriving in Europe through the central Mediterranean route, and those traveling along that route are mainly migrants coming from sub-Saharan African countries. And what is particularly distinctive about that route is 2 things. One, that there are a large number of unaccompanied minors, children traveling alone along that route. And 2, the risk of death, because it's a much longer sea journey, is much higher than along the Eastern Mediterranean route. And this is a terrible tragedy. And currently there does not seem to be any end in sight. Only in the last week or so, we've seen huge numbers of people, more than 1,000, perishing at sea. This year has been a particularly tragic year. We've seen already in 2016, more than 2,000 migrants have lost their lives in the Mediterranean region. This figure is particularly shocking given that already last year we reached a record figure of more than 3,700 lost lives. Although the media report extensively on the number of people who go missing or who die at sea, an untold story is what happens to the families left behind. Often they search endlessly for information about their loved ones. They may be living in a country far from Europe and have very little access to information about the fate of their relatives. And even if bodies are found, it is often the case that people are simply buried in unmarked graves, making it very difficult for the relatives to identify their loved ones. Well, the big change in 2016 has obviously been the reduction in the number of migrants traveling along the Eastern Mediterranean route because of the agreement between the EU and Turkey. But then there are concerns and fears that many of those people who might have travelled along the Eastern Mediterranean route will now try to cross the Mediterranean from places such as Libya, and as I mentioned earlier, the central Mediterranean sea crossing is much more dangerous than the shorter crossing from Turkey to Greece. So this is a major worry at the moment.